Speed Maths 4. Simplification Tricks. Solving questions from simplifications, a well-known rule, is called BODMAS Rule. It gives the hierarchy of operations that stands for brackets, order, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Let us now learn the different models for solving simplification problems quickly. The first model of simplification calculation is square root and cube root. Let's look at some examples to understand simplification in terms of square root and cube root concepts. Which is the greatest value among the numbers? The square root of 19 minus the square root of 17. The square root of 13 minus the square root of 11. The square root of 7 minus the square root of 5. The square root of 5 minus the square root of 3. Let us consider the first number, the square root of 19 minus the square root of 17. You can rationalize the square root of 19 minus the square root of 17 by multiplying the numerator and denominator with the square root of 19 plus the square root of 17. Multiplication can be transformed into a difference of squares using the rule a minus b into a plus b, which is a square minus the b square. Here, a square value is a square root of 19 squared, which is 19. B square is the square root of 17 squared, which is 17. The difference between 19 and 17 is 2. Then the result becomes 2 divided by the square root of 19 plus the square root of 17. Similarly, we can deduce the other numbers. The result of the second number is 2 divided by the square root of 13 plus the square root of 11. The third number is 2 divided by the square root of 7 plus the square root of 5. The fourth number is 2 divided by the square root of 5 plus the square root of 3. Here, you notice that the lesser value in the denominator gives the greater number. So the answer is the square root of 5 minus the square root of 3. Let's take another example to better comprehend this concept. Which is the smallest value among the numbers? 2 power 250, 3 power 150, 5 power 100, 4 power 200. When the power of given numbers is divided by 50, the numbers become 2 power 5, 3 power 3, 5 power 2, 4 power 4, and the results are 32, 27, 25, and 256 respectively. Therefore, the smallest value among these numbers is 25, which corresponds to 5 power 100. Let us now look at some additional examples. Find the square root of the square root of 915,849 plus the square root of 795,664. As was covered in the Speed Maths 2 video, it is simple and smart to find the square root of a given number. The square root of 915,849 is 957, and the square root of 795,664 is 892. The sum of these two square roots is 957 plus 892, which is equal to 1849. Finally, the required result can be obtained by taking the square root of 1849, which is 43. Next, consider the nested radical function. How to simplify the square root of 12, under 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 square root of 12. There is a really interesting math trick behind it. We know that The exponent form of the square root of x is x power 1 by 2. Here, denominator 2 denotes the square root. Numerator 1 represents the denominator value minus 1. It is noted from the question that there are 6 square roots. Hence, the denominator value would be 2 power 6, which is 64, and the numerator value would be 64 minus 1, which is 63. Therefore, the numerator and denominator values would be 63 by 64. The solution for this question would be the simplified form of 12 power 63 by 64. Let us consider another expression, where infinitely many radical expressions are nested within each other. Simplify the square root of 9, under the square root of 9, under the square root of 9 continues up to infinite. There is a really interesting math trick behind it. The square root of x, under the square root of x, under the square root of x, and continues until infinity should be x. Using this concept, we obtain the required answer. Always remember that the solution is the specified number itself, which is 9. Let us consider another example in the nested radical function. How to simplify the square root of 4600 plus under the square root of 540 plus under the square root of 1280 plus under the square root of 250 plus under the square root of 36. The solution to the square root of 36 is 6. Then it is added to 250, and the value becomes 256. The square root of 256 is 16. Then it is added to 1280, and the value becomes 1296. The square root of 1296 is 36. Then it is added to 540, and the value becomes 576. The square root of 576 is 24. Then, it is added to 4600, and the value becomes 4624. The square root of 4624 is 68. Let us look at a final example in the nested radical function. How to simplify the square root of 72, plus under the square root of 72, plus under the square root of 72, plus under the square root of 72, plus continues up to infinite. In math, 72 can be written as 8 multiplied by 9, or 8 times 9. The smallest value is 8, the highest value is 9, and the difference between these two values is 1. There is a really interesting math trick behind it. If the nested radical function has a positive sign, then the solution is the product of the highest value and the difference between two numbers. Likewise, if the nested radical function has a negative sign, then the solution is the product of the lowest value and the difference between two values. In this problem, the nested radical function has a positive sign. So, 9 into 1 equals 9, which is the final answer. The second model of simplification calculation is percentage concepts. Let's look at an example in the percentage concept. 35% of 580 minus 70% of the question mark is equal to 441. What value should come in place of the question mark? First, 35% of 580 can be calculated as 203. When we subtract 203 from 441, we get 238. So, 70% of what value is 238? We know that 238 divided by 7 equals 34. Hence, The answer is 340. Let's look at the second example to understand this simplification concept by ignoring percentages and two zeros. Simplify the equation 20% of 160 plus 30% of 420 plus 500. Remember that 1% is 1 divided by 100. So, dividing the percentage by 100 yields 1. If a percentage and 100 appear in the calculation, simply ignore the percentage and two zeros. The first part of the equation in the given question contains a percentage and two zeros, so completely ignore them. Similarly, percentages and zeros are ignored in the second part of the calculation. The calculation then becomes 2 into 16 is 32, 3 into 42 is 126, and 500. The sum of the three numbers 32 plus 126 plus 500 equals 658. Let's look at the third example to understand this simplification concept by ignoring percentages and two zeros. Simplify the equation 63% of 5,700 plus 84% of 7,600. If a percentage and 100 appear in the calculation, simply ignore the percentage and two zeros. The first part of the equation in the given question contains a percentage and two zeros, so completely ignore them. Similarly, percentages and zeros are ignored in the second part of the calculation. The calculation then becomes 63 into 57 plus 84 into 76. 63 into 57 is 60 plus 3 into 60 minus 3. This would be 60 square minus 3 square, or 3,600 minus 9. Similarly, 84 into 76 equals 80 plus 4 into 80 minus 4. This would be 80 square minus 4 square, or 6,400 minus 16. The sum of 3,600 plus 6,400 equals 10,000. And minus 9 minus 16 becomes minus 25. 10,000 minus 25 is the required answer, which is 9,975. Let's look at the fourth example to understand this simplification concept with the multiply and divide by constant concept. Simplify the equation 20.75% of 9,600 plus 35% of 820. Calculating with decimal numbers is a little more complicated mathematically. As a result, the decimal value must be converted into an integer by multiplying it by a constant value. Consider x percentage of y. If x% is multiplied by a, the value y must be divided by a to ensure that the result is not altered. Let us apply this idea to the following equation. The first portion of the computation multiplies 20.75% by 4, while the second component divides 9,600 by 4. Similarly, 35% is multiplied by 2, and 8,200 is divided by 4. After ignoring the percentage and two zeros, the calculation becomes 83 into 24 plus 7 into 41. Using the split and merge technique, 24 can be split into 20 plus 4. 83 into 20 is 1660, and 83 into 4 is 332. 7 into 41 is 287. The sum of 1660, 332, and 287 becomes 2279. Let's look at the fifth example to understand this simplification concept with the multiply and divide by constant concept. Simplify the equation. 64.5% of 800 plus 36.4% of 1500 is equal to square plus 38. What value should come in place of the question mark? On the left side of the equation, multiply and divide by 100, and then apply the a% of b is equal to b% of a concept. The left-hand side equation becomes 8% of 6,450 plus 15% of 3,640. 8% of 6,450 is 516, while 15% of 3,640 is 546. The sum of 516 and 546 is 1062. Which is the left part of the equation. The question mark square is obtained by subtracting 38 from 1062. Finally, computing the square root of 1024 yields the required answer of 32. Let's look at the sixth example to understand this simplification concept with approximation technique. Simplify the equation 15. Square minus 180.01 plus square root of 170 minus 25% of 249.89. Using the approximation technique, we solve this problem in a smart way. Take 180.01 is 180. The number 170 in the question is not a perfect square value. The square root of 169 is 13. So, consider the value 169 instead of 170. Next, 249.89 should be rounded to 250. Then perform calculations. The equation becomes 225 minus 180 plus 13 minus 1/4 of 250. 225 plus 13 is 238. Then subtract 180 from 238 results 58. 1/4 is nothing but half of the value and half of the value again. Half of 250 is 125 and half of 125 is 62.5. Then, subtracting 62.5 from 58 we obtain minus 4.5. This is an approximate value. The nearest value in the answer is minus 5. Let's look at the seventh example to understand the simplification concept with the digit sum method. Simplify the equation 45 square plus 21 square is equal to square plus 257. What value should come in place of the question mark? The traditional method requires more time to solve this problem. We may solve the problem in a smart way by employing the digit sum approach. Digital sum means adding digits of any group of numbers. In general, the digit sum method can be used to check answers involving different arithmetic operations like multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, squares, square roots, cube roots, etc. The procedure involved is very simple. We have to convert any given number into a single digit by repetitively adding up all the digits of that number. Now, apply this rule to compute the simplification problems quickly. 45 squared equals 4 plus 5 square, which is 9 squared equals 81. The sum of 8 and 1 is 9. Likewise, 21 squared equals 2 plus 1 square, which is 3 squared equals 9. In the left part of the equation, the sum of 9 and 9 is 18 and the sum of 1 and 8 is 9. In the right-hand side of the equation, the digit sum of 257 is 2 plus 5 plus 7 is 5. To find the question mark square, subtract 5 from 9, and we obtain the value 4. Then the final value is 2. However, this is not a result. Apply the digit sum technique to all the result options. The digit sum value of option D is 2, which is the same number obtained previously. Therefore, option D is the final answer. Let's look at the 8th example to understand the simplification concept with the digit sum method. Simplify the equation 54% of 7,865 plus 17% of 532 minus 39% of 4,269. Applying the digit sum concept, 54 equals 5 plus 4, which is 9. The sum of 7, 8, 6, 5 is 8. Likewise, 17% of 5, 3, 2 is 8 into 1, which is 8. Now let us explain the important concept. The digit sum of 4, 2, 6 is 3 and the digit sum of 4, 2, 6, 9 is also 3. So we conclude that the number the 9th of may be considered as 0. Hence, 54% of 7, 8, 6, 5 is 0. 17% of 5, 3, 2 is 8. 39% of 4, 2, 6, 9 is 9 or 0. So, the digit sum value is 8. Apply the digit sum technique to all the result options. The digit sum value of option C is 8, which is the same number obtained previously. Therefore, option C is the final answer. The 9th method in percentage concepts in simplification is the sum of P1% plus P2% is 100%. Simplify the equation 24% of 5, 7, 6, 0, plus 76% of 3, 7, 6, 0. The number 5,760 is split into 3,760 plus 2,000. The sum of 24 and 76% is 100%. We know that 100% of the given value is the value itself. So, the sum of 24 and 76% of 3,760 is 3,760. The remaining part of the calculation, 24% of 2,000 is 480. The final result is 3,760 plus 480, which is 4,240. The third model of simplification is fractions. Let's look at some examples to understand the fraction concept. The first example is simplifying 16/2 by 3% of 216 plus 14/2 by 7% of 343. The fraction of 16/2 by 3% is 16 into 3 plus 2%, or 50 by 3%, or 50 by 300, or 1 by 6. We can say that 14/2 by 7% is 1 by 7. 1 by 6 into 216 and 1 by 7 into 343 becomes 36 and 49 respectively. The sum of these values is the final result, which is 85. The second example is simplifying 66/2 by 3% of 360 plus 28/4 by 7% of 420. The fraction of 66/2 by 3% is 66 into 3 plus 2%, or 200 by 3%, or 200 by 300, or 2 by 3. we can say that 28 4 by 7% is 2 by 7. 2 by 3 into 360 and 2 by 7 into 420 becomes 240 and 120 respectively. The sum of these values is the final result, which is 360. The third example is simplifying 214 2 by 7% of 14. The fraction of 214 2 by 7% can be expressed as 200 plus 14 2 by 7%. We know that 200% is 2. 14 2 by 7% is 1 by 7. We simplify 2 plus 1 by 7, we get 15 by 7. 15 by 7 into 14 is the required result, which is 30. The last example is simplifying 166 2 by 3% of 720 plus 157 1 by 7% of 630. The fraction of 166 2 by 3% can be expressed as 100 plus 66 2 by 3%, and 157 1 by 7 is 100 plus 57 1 by 7%. 100% is 1. 66 2 by 3% is 2 by 3. 57 1 by 7% is 4 by 7. We simplify 1 plus 2 by 3, we get 5 by 3, and 1 plus 4 by 7, we get 11 by 7. 5 by 3 into 720, plus 11 by 7 into 630 equals 1200 and 990 respectively. The sum of 1200 and 990 is the required result, which is 2190. Thank you. Subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon to get regular updates from our channel.